Okay, so there is one last section I want to carry just to go through with you before we wrap this up, and that is regarding preset image selections. So let's just jump over to our design here and take a look. So what we have here, we have a Powered by Keller Williams logo. So there are actually three different versions of this Powered by Keller Williams logo. Some agents want to use one or the other. Some agents don't want to use them at all. So what we're going to actually do is we're going to create a little scenario where an agent can come to this logo, select it, and actually be presented with all three different versions and give them the option to choose which version of the logo they want to display. So if I just jump over to my new tab up here, and what you'll see, I actually have all the versions already set up and sized here. So one of the key factors to point out and something to bear in mind when you're setting these up is if I just jump over to the back end here, you'll see that when we set up a field, it has a set width and a set height. Now that cannot vary for each module. Your module will always have the same width and same height regardless of what you display inside it. So with that beared in mind, when you come to set up your images, you need to make sure that the artboards you use are the same width and the same height for each image, regardless of the content. So you can see here that this logo here fills out the entire artboard quite nicely. However, this logo down the bottom here doesn't actually fill up the half of it at all. And the thing is, when you actually set this, the image will fill out the space naturally and will not distort at all. So if I was to set this artboard shorter and this artboard longer, for instance, when it came to be applied inside the template editor, because we have these set widths and heights, the artwork would in fact stretch to fill the space. So by doing this, we just ensure that every logo is going to display correctly. So this is a really important thing to bear in mind, guys, when you're setting up these images to be set inside the system. So with that said, the next thing to do is just to go ahead and save these for print output. So make sure you're saving them as CMYK, JPEGs where possible. Now, the thing to bear in mind is, again, when we're looking at this design here, this is a whiteout logo appearing on what is a variable colored background. So this means the user can change this background. In this case, you should get away with using PNGs with transparent backgrounds. It's not the most ideal thing to do, but to bear in mind that these are simply because they are RGB documents. But because the content inside them is white with a transparent background, you can get away with doing it. So you can use transparent background PNGs if needed. For the purposes of this video, though, because I already have these set from a previous job, I'm just going to go ahead and just set up the field and apply it inside my artwork here, just so you can see how we go ahead and create these. Now, these don't just have to be used for logos. You could set these up for the front cover that we looked at earlier. We had a nice big hero banner image through the front cover. If you wanted to, you could set maybe 4 or 5 different property shots and just let the agent choose from those 4 or 5 properties. And again, that gives you more control over the look and feel of it. And I suppose it also gives the agents an option to select if they don't necessarily have their own artwork to choose from. But again, that's entirely down to your discretion. So with that all said, let me go ahead and set up this field, and we'll actually go through and just show how you actually apply these. Right, now let's come back over to the template editor. As always, let's go to our new field drop down here and select our image mask, square and rectangle field. And again, there's a few little basic setups that I've already done already. Now, something to bear in mind with what we're doing here, because we are using preset images with a preset size, you don't need to be massively precise with this, but you do need to be quite accurate. Otherwise, you are going to end up distorting the image. So you can get away with a little bit of play here and there, but really, you want to try and be as close as possible. So to derive this size that we see here, now again, I'm using Illustrator. If you're using InDesign, it should be very similar. But let's jump back over. Now, what we need to do is actually try and work out the point size of our artboard here. So on the right-hand side, using the Properties tab, and if you don't have the Property tab open, you can find that inside the Windows drop-down over there. Let's come over to our units of measurement, and we're just going to change that to points. And with points selected, let's open up our artboard tool and we can see here with our artboard selected that we're working at 186 points by 33 points high. So 186 wide by 33 high. So as you can see there, with a little bit of play in between this, that's pretty much where we want to be. So that's the size we want to be working at. So that's great. Let's go ahead and give this field a quick name, powered by a logo. And then we need to set a default image. So let's select browse. And I want to select this basic logo as our default first. So let's go ahead and add that. The rest of the details are all set. This is looking good. Let's go ahead and add that just so we can see what it looks like on the page. And again, let's just move this up our layers palette just so we get it where we need it. And there we have our logo there. So we have our image set, but now we need to set the different options that are going to be available to the user. So let's open back up our layer that we just add and come down to our field defaults. Just below that, engraved in black text here, is create image options as an item there. So let's give that a click. And now we have this new section here. And what we need to do, we're simply going to be giving the labels and names for the options that are available to the users, and then uploading the images they can select from. So let's add our logo 1, and then we're going to add that. Oh, sorry, add logo 1. This is a mistake I always make. Add logo 1, then you need to click browse underneath here. Click browse and click logo 1. Once you've got that applied, then you can add. Okay, and we can see that is now set as an option. Let's go ahead and add logo 2, and let's just whiz through these quick because it is the same process for every single one. Make sure we click browse first, add our logo. Now, as you saw earlier, I actually set logo 3 as our default, but we still want to add that as an option because if someone decides to click away from it and then decide they want to go back to it, we need it there as an option for them to be able to select. So make sure that's added as well. Now, as we know in the past from working with a lot of agents, not every agent wants to necessarily display a powered by logo. So what I did earlier, I actually created a blank field here, a blank image to be added. So now what we can do is we can add an option of blank, and then we're going to upload what is effectively an empty image, and that just allows people to effectively turn off the logo if they want to. So let's go ahead and add that, and that's it. That's our 3 logos set as an option with a blank option applied as well. Now once that's all set, we can go ahead and turn that off or close this even. But before we do that, let's just look around at some of the options we have in here again. We can again rearrange the order of this. If we wanted to bring blank to the top of the list, we can just click through these options here, and now blank is the first option there. If we wanted to come in here, maybe turn one of these logos off, let's say we want to turn those off for now. For whatever reason, you only want to offer these 2 options for a set period of time for one reason or another. So without having to go in and delete everything, you can temporarily disable certain logos simply by clicking the little green buttons down the side there. So let's turn all these on just so we can show you how these look. But that is how you set up those options in there for preordained options for images. So let's close that and just go ahead and save our page. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to jump over to the front end again and just show you how that looks. So apologies, actually, another little small mistake on my part there. When you are actually setting the logos in the back end here, it is actually the item that appears at the top of the list that will be your default. You may have noticed there before I paused the video that my image had in fact dropped out, and that was because I'd set the blank option as the top of the list. So of course we wanted logo 3 to be our default. So in this case, you would move logo 3 to the top of the list, and that way it becomes a default image. So we needed to cover that off there quickly. But with that said and done, and we've got our default logo set, let's jump over on the front end and see how that looks. Okay, so now we are back in the template editor. And now we can actually see what the user is going to see. So if I come down now to my images, my logo down the bottom here, and give that a click, we can see now that we're actually presented with a drop down. And if I click on that drop down, we can see the options that I set. And what I can do now is if I go ahead and select logo 1, we'll see how that sets. logo 2. And if I wanted to get rid of it altogether, we can set it to blank. And now I don't have a logo there at all. So quite an easy process. Quite a few things you can do with that. Like I said before, if you wanted to control the images that were available, say, on our hero banner on the homepage at the moment, because there are no options available, if I click on this, I'm simply given the option to upload my own image. However, if you wanted to control the types of images that agents could use on this, then you could upload, say, 5 property shots, and those would be the only property shots that agents could use. So it does give you quite a lot of control, and it does also offer you the ability to offer certain images to agents that they might not use themselves. Quite a powerful tool. That kind of wraps that up.